Three rods, three primary building blocks of perception, three colors that define everything. Every shade in this world is born from these three colors, red, yellow, and blue. When we discovered the fourth rod ages ago, and the compound eyes of butterflies, there's a strange new idea, a new color. Since then, we've discovered an animal with upwards of 12 rods and cones. Why is that important for today? Because I was selected to be the first to see this new color. I worked in a government facility to inspect counterfeits, from paintings to bills. They used my eyes to find flaws that others would never see. To say that my vision was great is an understatement, and my ability to discern hues made me somewhat of a rarity. That's why their offer was so enticing. A surgery to see a new color sounded like a dream come true. They gave me the offer, and I accepted it, even knowing there was a chance to lose my sight. I wanted to see something new, to be the first person to ever see a new color. The work in progress name for the new color was tetra. They gave me a briefing about what it would do if the surgery was a success. Record all the different hues I could see, and look at its applications, and test if it was safe for others. Which brings me to today. My hands were shaking with anticipation as led to a white room with an operation table, and a pane of two-sided glass on the wall. Three doctors stood around the table with an assortment of tools. A voice came over a microphone. Thank you for joining us today, Cyrus. We hope this procedure will go well. We'll put you under for surgery and wake you up once it is settled. If you see black when you wake up, don't panic. It's estimated that you will not be able to see for a few minutes until your brain's synapses realize what you're processing. I was afraid of what was happening in those few minutes. What was happening if those few minutes turned into a few years of blackness? But the idea of tetra was intoxicating. The doctors directed me to lay down on the table. It was surprisingly warm as they inserted the needle into my arm. How long will it take to kick? I was plunged into darkness. Hello? Cyrus. We've completed the operation. Your sight should be returning soon. That was quick. I wonder what they gave me, and why they didn't have it when I broke my leg last summer. Tell us when you start to regain sight. Describe as much as you can. The voice over the intercom crackled. Light started to fill my eyes, blurred as things started to come into focus. I saw what must have been tetra, and to be honest, my favorite color was still lilac. But seeing the beginnings of tetra was amazing. I'm starting to see something. It's too blurry to tell. Tell us as you see things. We're very excited to learn of your progress. The tone said with a hint of excitement. Slowly the white room came back into view. I guess white is white even with new eyes. There was something new though. Something terrible. Written on the walls hastily in tetra were 6 words. Don't tell them you can see. I blinked once or twice before I heard the voice. Can you see anything new? For a moment I thought it was a test, but decided to listen to the words, at least for now. Nothing new in here. Is there anywhere else I could go to test my vision? Of course. Dr. Feldman will lead you down to an art gallery that we have put together. A man beside me held out his hand and helped me up. And it took me out into a room, into a blue hallway, or what used to be blue. The walls were now a hue that I'd never seen before, and continued to fill with more tetra. Feldman looked at me and asked me what I saw. There's no way I would tell him the truth. It was clear I saw something. I was never great with a poker face. I think I see tetra. It's not very bright, but it's definitely different. I hoped the bluff would lie away the shock on my face. Great. Please follow me into the art gallery. This room was covered in the same color I'd seen in the halls, but it was a centerpiece that took my breath away. An original Van Gogh with a medley of colors. I couldn't begin to explain. His painting's brilliance increased tenfold with each brushstroke, mixed in with hues I never knew existed. I audibly gasped from seeing the painting in its true glory. So you can see it? Dr. Feldman asked. Yes was the only word I could muster in front of its awe. I envy you. I've always wanted to see it. They did more tests on the other artists, and it turns out many of the greats worked with tetra. Many painted flowers with what I had connected as pure tetra, much different from the warnings I had seen. After an hour or so of looking at photos and paintings, I felt safe enough. Nothing bad had happened. The doctor seemed incredibly kind. I figured the warnings must have been some form of a test. I did see some shade of tetra bluish out in the hall. They all said not to tell you I could see this. There was a glimpse of shock across the doctor's face before regaining composure. Of course, we had to make sure you were committed. The doctor regained his professional tone quickly. After another hour or two, a large guard came in, his once black and shimmering suit now a medley of colors. His voice was deep and authoritative. Come with me, Cyrus. We have documents you looked at to analyze. We're having documents you have looked at analyzed. We have your next test. We walked down the hall into a file room. They projected various files and codes up on the screen. Most had no differences. A few of the letters had smudges of color. One paper was covered in symbols written in pure tetra. The guards asked me to write down what I saw. I happily obliged. All right, Cyrus, that should be enough for the day. Let me take you to your quarters. I can't go home? Of course you can. We're keeping you here for a day to make sure that there are no complications. He opened the door into the room. The entire room was covered in the same hue that the warning was written in. We'll be back in an hour. Please relax. Thank you for all you've done. Of course, it's an honor. Without the doctor, the door was shut, leaving me with a few books. I was killing time. Nearly an hour passed when I started to feel a draining from my face. I thought it was related to the surgery before I tasted the familiar iron taste. Just a nosebleed. I wiped my nose with my hand, and my stomach dropped. I looked at my hand, the same hue I had seen throughout all the halls, all around my room. Tetra blue was the color of blood. I'm sure those warnings were not a test. According to the clock, I have 7 minutes before they come back. I have 7 minutes left to appreciate Tetra. 7 minutes before I learned why those warnings were there. Pray for me.